Views expressed in the videos are my observation, analysis of events, persons based on principles of astrology. It's not my intent to predict, forecast absolute outcomes, only suggest how they may unfold. Nothing is set in stone. I could be wrong, but often I'm right. My desire is not to promote fear, only inform about what we see unfolding. It is our wish to prepare our subscribers for events that could affect them, their family, their goals, and their future, to help to prepare for what you may already suspect is happening, and to send a warning shot across the bow and raise a flag of concern. Our goal is to help, not hinder, in these perilous times, to inspire and offer possible direction, and to reveal that a greater plan and purpose are behind all that is happening. Eventually, we will see a brighter day. If you would like to show your appreciation for our work on these videos or this channel, and also the Knowing Whispers channel, you can always click on the word thanks at the bottom of all the videos. Hello everybody, it's Robert Cosmar of the Astrology of Life YouTube channel and of the Substack Knowing Whispers Messages from the Universe newsletter. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 6 instances in Trump's chart where transiting planets go retrograde over natal points in his horoscope. Now, this is not totally unusual, but in a sense it is unusual that you would have this many retrograde planets having the opportunity to conjunct a natal planet over a particular period of time. And this covers 2024, it covers 2025. Okay? And my feeling is that in these particular situations of these planets going retrograde over his natal points, that this is an intensification of what the natal planet represents and what the energy or the meaning of the transiting planet itself means. So we're going to take a look at 6 of these. There are six of these that are going to be transpiring during 2024, 2025. A couple of them are very significant in regards to how things are going to go. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about potential trouble for Donald Trump this summer. There are so many things in June, July, and August that are going to be heating up and going to be extremely chaotic. And we could see a clash, an explosion, so to speak, a volcanic explosion between the legal ramifications and their status in regards to Trump and his political efforts at all costs to wrestle away from Joe Biden the presidency in November of 2024. And again, it's a very convoluted thing, a very emotional thing that everybody, myself included, are affected by. We know what's at cost. We know what the potential is of this particular individual, but I think that until we actually see it in action, we're yet to be horrified at the possibility of what this individual could do if he is brought back into the presidency of the United States. And there is a possibility, I had briefly mentioned this in one of my other videos, there is a potential possibility here that something could happen to Trump during this particular period of time. I'll talk more about that in the next video that I do probably next week. And it's entitled something like Trump in Trouble or something like that. And we'll focus in on all the factors that are going on in his horoscope, excuse me, in June, July, and August. And they're not that far away. So let's take a look here at the retrograde emphasis here in Donald Trump's chart. And you can see over here that beginning in July 16th of 2024, that Mercury is going to be going retrograde 3 times over his ascendant and his Mars. Now we know that Mercury represents communications. We also know Mars, ascendant, his personality, his bluster, his bullying. Okay? So this particular situation could be a circumstance in which his communication gets more intense, more direct, more abrasive. We're already seeing some of this in a lot of the speeches he's giving. They're very, autocratically oriented. In some cases, people have said they're almost Hitlerish in regards to how he's communicated. So we're seeing here in this particular situation that he is going to be quite agitated, obviously, as this situation is kind of a back and forth. One day you see situations where Trump is doomed and gloomed and going to go into bankruptcy. Other days he's, getting approval here from a judge or, excuse me, I just had a taco and it's sticking on my throat. So a lot of intensification of communication, agitation. All right. Now the second one here is probably the most significant one in regards to how everything is going to pan out, the overall theme of what we're looking at. All right. You can see here that beginning in May 15th of 2024, that Uranus is going to enter into the retrograde zone. They call that a preparation for it to go over his midheaven. Now, it goes over his midheaven 3 times. Uranus can bring a fortunate turn of events, but it can also bring an unfortunate turn of events. Okay? And in this next video that I'm going to be doing for you, I'm going to talk about the ever important critical square that it applies to his Mars in his natal chart, because this will be definitely a major factor in how everything pans out as we move into the fall, into the election. But in this situation here, Uranus going across the midheaven, it means freedom. I've often thought that possibly this could be an indication that somehow he's going to get a reprieve by the Supreme Court, okay, or that something's going to happen that's going to change with him, or a change in the circumstances unexpected, because you're talking about a Uranus, and things don't go as he planned, or things don't go as we hope that they'll be planned. So this is, like I said, something that is very significant. The last time it will pass or go out of the actual retrograde zone is on May the 17th of 2025. Now, stationary direct and stationary retrograde. I mentioned this in one of my newsletter posts the other day. It's more important in regards to the Vedic system of astrology. At least I feel that that's how they look at it. In the West, we know about it, we consider it. I don't know how seriously all astrologers actually take it. But the fact of the matter is that when you have a planet that is stationary direct, all right, it can become very powerful. All right. A stationary direct planet in a person's natal chart is an extreme indication of how that planet manifests. And it becomes something that's a part of their life that is hard not to notice, because they are so successful, they are so good, so to speak, at that particular area of their life. So you can't take that, you can't take that into a situation of just ignoring it. And because we're talking about Uranus on his midheaven here, and this is after the election, all right, January the 30th, 2025, this could be a very powerful time of change, okay, unexpected change, okay, that could be happening to him, whether or not he's in the presidency. It's hard to say. It's hard to believe. This whole scenario, I know, is so hard to believe, because it's obvious who he is. At least it is to most people. Okay? For some, they like that. For others, it's something that is of concern to them because they understand the signs of this type of personality. All right? Now, on top of this midheaven retrograde motion of the planet Uranus, something else here that's going on, and it's about the same timeline. Okay? And again, keep in mind that this brings into emphasis the meaning of the natal planetary placement. Almost the same time that we're talking about here, although in this case, Jupiter going over, conjuncting his Uranus. Okay? February the 4th, 2025 is when it's stationary direct. It begins to go into the retrograde zone, 8/22/2024. This is before the election. These are significant, okay? This is an unexpected change of events, usually a fortuitous change of event, okay? Although, when you're talking about all these things going on together, you're talking about a cluster, okay? You're talking about a cluster of factors that are going on. Keep in mind, too, that Pluto is still opposing Donald Trump's Venus and Saturn within orb in his natal chart, and that Venus rules his midheaven, which would be his aspirations to be president. So there are many factors that you have to weigh, okay? These factors here, from my standpoint, just essentially talk about the intensification of things that we will see playing out in the news, on TV, okay? It's going to be kind of a roller coaster ride through the entire summer with Trump, with the courts, okay, going into the election. By the time that we get to the election, I think that probably we'll all be mentally and emotionally exhausted. As I mentioned many times over on the Substack newsletter, Knowing Whispers, Messages from the Universe, all right? For those of you that are aware and awake and watching this video, make certain that you are being diligent about your inner meditation, okay? So that you can keep in communion with your guidance, so that you can keep a balance in your mental and emotional bodies, so that you're not given away to the first things that you hear on the news that are going to be reactionary, they're going to be emotional, okay, but they may not be true. And this is one of the things that about karma that I guess in many ways is troublesome to certain people, and other people is rather comforting because of the fact that when you take a look at the horoscope with the karmic indications, you get a sense of being able to accept the fact, if you're able to interpret the factors, that this is what's meant to be for particular reasons of which the universe is allowing these things to happen. That doesn't always make us feel good emotionally because of the fact that we can be deceived by our emotions and by our thinking. But again, keep in mind, Uranus goes retrograde over the midheaven during almost the same time that Jupiter is going retrograde over his Uranus. And in his natal chart, his Western chart, the biggest success indicator in his chart has to do with the close trine between the 2nd house and the 10th house of Jupiter and Uranus. So this comes into play. In the Vedic system, his biggest financial indicator is the stationary direct placement of Jupiter in his 2nd house, the house of wealth. Okay? So, this is what's going on. Next, the next in line here, and you can see we're talking about November. It's about 2 days after the election. November 2024, all the way to January the 2nd, 2025. Mercury is going to be retrograde going over Trump's moon. Okay? Again, communications, the moon, having to deal with the mind. All right? Tremendous amount of communication here with without Mars having much to do with that, you know, maybe the communications are toned down, all right, but still a lot of communication going on, a lot of talking, a lot of thinking. Okay, and here, now this is going to be interesting. You can see here October 2024 clear through May the 2nd of 2025. This is when retrograde Mars goes over his Venus-Saturn, okay, in his natal chart. And the thing that I can't explicitly see right off the bat, okay, this is probably going to be several degrees off of Pluto's opposing. It may be anywhere from 5 to 7 degrees off of that, but still probably within orb when you're talking about Pluto. So aside from this fact here that Mars, energy, anger, aggression, okay, passion, all right, determination, a fighting spirit, so to speak, inflammation of his angst, all right, because Venus and Saturn play such a big part in his dealings with finances, his dealings with females. In the Vedic chart, his Saturn, Gulika, you know, the dreaded Gulika, which represents a worse effect than Saturn, and also I believe Venus, are all in the 12th house, the house of loss. You know, it's very plain when you take a look at the Vedic chart of Donald Trump that he has had and will have significant losses in his life, okay, because that is his destiny and his fate. But this point right here, again, as you put these things all together with some of the other things I'm going to show you in the other video I'm going to do on Trump's troubles in the summer of 2024, it's a tremendously volatile time for him and also for us, because what's going to happen is that the news, you know, individuals, the networks, so to speak, are going to just spend a lot of time getting everybody riled up over what's going on. And again, even with all the tools that an astrologer has to talk about Trump, whether Western or Vedic, it is very difficult, you know, to say for certain whether he's going to get elected or not. You know, there are those that are gifted spiritually, consciously, you know, who make predictions and stuff. But my feeling about that is that even that can be as deceptive as the inability to correctly interpret a horoscope. I know that for some individuals that there are times when their intuitive insights or visions are very accurate, and there are times when they are not. And even some of the most famous throughout history that have predicted the outcome of things have also been wrong many times as well. So don't let the news get you riled up. In fact, I'd mentioned that, I think, in another video, that if you can stay away from the extreme news channels that are going one way or the other, you're going to probably do yourself better. I know it's a temptation to want to know, you know, what's going on, but they don't know the outcome any more than I do, or you do, or any other astrologer or psychic in the world does. So you want to keep yourself calm. You want to be centered. You want to be accepting that what will be is what the universe is allowing to happen for its purposes. You want to know for yourself why you're feeling the way that you are, why you are going through the changes you're going through. You want to understand those for yourself. Okay? You don't want to be caught up in all the drama that's going on. Okay. So, Mars, Moon, Mercury, Jupiter, Uranus. Okay? And I think that there's one more here issue with him, and I think this is a repeat. Yeah, this is Mercury conjuncting the Moon. Obviously, it's another period of time. This here, I believe, was November of 2024, January the 2nd, 2025. This could be a repeat of the one I did earlier. I may have done a duplicate here, but You can see from all of these retrograde conjunctions over these critical aspects of his chart that it's reflective in the behavior that you see. Okay? It is so important intuitively, consciously, that we understand what is happening in the world, in our world, and what this means to us personally, consciously. What changes you need to make, what preparations you need to make. And as hard as this may seem, you want to fight the urge to be sucked into the fear on both sides. Okay? You don't want to be caught up into that. Okay? That type of thing is what we saw on January the 6th when they assaulted the Congress. All right? That's the worst. Okay? And we don't want that, obviously, to happen. Now, one last point here I've got here is a chart. This is the chart of the United States of America. And you'll see here that October the 5th, 2024, okay, and it leaves that zone on May the 2nd, 2025, all right. This is a long retrograde period of Mars conjuncting the USA Mercury in Cancer in the 7th house, all right. This to me represents a tremendous amount of aggressiveness in communications. All right. Now, doesn't necessarily mean that Trump won the election, but what it can mean is that the rhetoric is still being amped up. All right. The fear is still there. If you remember from a video I did maybe a month ago about Eris, and the fact that for a number of years beyond now, okay, in the chart of the United States, it is very close to being it's very close to being exact many times over a period of years because it moves so slowly. And it is doubtful that with this election, if Trump is defeated, that we're going to see this situation go away because there's so many other things that are on the line, so to speak. The global instability, the weather, okay, the national issues with the economy and stuff like that. All of these things are, I'm certain, that are on our minds. And in many cases, they're probably pushed into the background because we don't want to acknowledge or to admit that there is such instability. But all of this is setting up a stage, I think, that most of us feel that some kind of an event is going to occur, that needs to occur to wake humanity up. Hopefully it won't be for a lot of loss of life, but it could be. Hopefully it won't lead to civil unrest in America, but it could be. Hopefully it won't mean that Russia is going to overrun Europe, but it could be. Nobody knows really what the Chinese are going to do. But you can be certain of one thing. If the United States were to fall, then you're looking at Europe, and you're looking at Taiwan, and you're looking at most of what we would consider to be the Far East to probably come under the domination of the Russians and the Chinese. Okay? The question is the universe willing to allow that to occur? All right? We're certainly in for exciting times, and like I said earlier, very troubling times. Okay, I hope that you enjoy this video about these retrogrades. The next video I'm going to do is going to delve a little bit more into Trump's vulnerability. Okay, going to talk more about that Uranus. Going to get more into Uranus squaring Mars in that chart, and talking about all the volatility going on throughout the summer in his horoscope, and give you a better picture of what to expect. Okay? If you get a chance, as I've mentioned many times, I would invite you to come over to the platform called Substack, to the newsletter over there that I have created. CJ also has one over there. It's called CJ's World. And it's also another one called CJ's Whispers of Knowing. I have 3 over there: Knowing Whispers, Messages from the Universe, Trump in America, and Ask the Astrologer. Come over there and join us, and you'll get a little more in-depth analysis of the awakening process and of the importance of taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally during all of this stuff that's going on. So keep that in mind. For those of you that are members and subscribers to the channel that have been with me for 7-8 years now, again, thank you so much. Your support, your comments are encouraging. There are times when something that you may say, helps me, gets me out of a funk, because of a lack of response or a lack of interest maybe in a video that's been done. It does happen, trust me. Okay? And for all of you that, that have given donations, it's appreciated, very much appreciated, and I try to thank you each time I see that you have made a donation to the group itself. And again, we are committed and look forward to staying with you throughout this entire process and giving you some insight, things to think about, okay? Particular view of things, all right, from an astrological perspective, sometimes with Vedic and a lot of times with Western astrology. Okay, so again, thank you for watching, and I trust that you have a great week ahead. From the love of my life, CJ, my spiritual partner, my best friend, love of my life, we both thank you and look forward to your participation in the group.